Isaac.
Stephanie.
This is Anthony.
I believe today's topic is going to be covering if it fits your macros.
Yes.
If it fits your macros. Yes. That's what we're going to be talking about today. It's going to be pretty good, some pretty good information. So let's jump into it. Thank you guys for joining us.
It's one of, I guess, the most popular diet. Or one of the most popular because it's so user-friendly.
Yeah.
That's a nice way to put it.
I guess, yeah.
User-friendly.
So what that means in general, a lot of people, so for macros, macronutrients is the nutrients that give you energy. So that's going to be your carbohydrates, your fats, and your proteins. So macros is literally just the percentages of which you're eating those particular macronutrients. So that's what macros are, if you didn't know what those were. So pretty much like if it fits your macros is just kind of making sure that the carbs that you're eating, the fats that you're eating, and the proteins that you're eating is fitting into the ultimate diet of the percentages per category that you're consuming.
I think that's perfect.
Yeah. And I mean, you guys can even see it's kind of vague, the answer of it as to, okay, so you have these macros, where did they come from, what did they do? And that's one of the biggest shortcomings of the whole if it fits your macros, because when it's calculated out, it's not sometimes using science, sometimes using that base of 0.6 grams per kilogram body weight for protein, and then you're getting in your carbs at, I think it's like 2 grams per pound per kilogram body weight, and your fats are around 25% of the remainder of your calories.
Okay.
So they, depending on how you're getting a program, like they have if it fits your macro calculators all over the internet.
They might use like a Francis Benedict to get calories and then
Mhm.
just percentage it off from there. Or something.
Exactly.
Okay.
So that's where the macros come from. You can always get with somebody to get more specific on your macros, but that's where the overarching if it fits your macros programs comes from, because there's tons of calculators out there. It's been around, I guess, from what I found, it's been around since 2010 technically.
Oh.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
That's not too old.
No, it's not too old.
I thought it was something that's been
No, because they had
germinating the world for.
It's so there's intuitive eating has been around forever.
Okay.
And intuitive eating is similar to if it fits your macros, but it's unfortunately more flexible because it talks about like you eat until you're 80% full. No matter what it is that you're eating, you eat till you're 80% full.
Okay.
Which is fine if you're chewing your food, if you're eating the right foods. I mean, 80% full from Swedish fish is much different than 80% full from potatoes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
it's another one of those things that has a lot
Swedish
of room
fish,
for,
the candy.
Yeah, the candy.
Yeah.
Not actual.
It's like actual fish would be better.
I mean,
like,
fish
hey.
would be fun better, yeah. God, they're so good. But yeah, so it's a whole different concept, and we'll probably get into that next time. But
Yeah.
I've seen some people like talking about intuitive eating, and it really does leave a big margin of error for the average person.
I got you.
So.
Yeah.
I know that it's one of the things that if it's your macros, I think it's one of the pros is it's good for people who are just starting out when it comes to a weight loss journey or any type of journey, changing their lifestyle, because I do think that the metabolism or our nutrition and as your body fat percentage goes down, things get harder, but there's more specific things that need to happen with your nutrition. If it fits your macros, can fall under that level 1 category where the goal is to just make sure you get your proteins, your fats, and your carbs. And sure, it's we coach that in the sense of we don't want you to just have cake and ice cream because it fits your macros. We want good food, but we're trying to put the good in.
Mm-hmm.
And as a level 1, like just getting somebody to get the nutrients in, that's more important than having the carbs and fats balanced or specific vegetables or we just want to try and get them to hit their numbers.
Yeah, exactly. Because I mean, that's a big question that I get a lot of the time is, how much should I be eating? How much carbohydrates? How much protein? How much fats should I be consuming? And so just tell me how much roughly. If my resting metabolic assessment tells me that I need 2,000 calories, how much of each of these should I be getting? And so that's a very easy way to kind of just be like, okay, let's not necessarily focus on how many servings of this, how many servings of that, just to kind of get you used to starting out and being aware of what you're eating. Let's try to hit these percentages of that.
Exactly.
And MyFitnessPal is a really good one to actually see those percentages. So it works really well in a beginner sense, like you said,
Yep.
is that it just kind of gets you into the mindset of, okay, being more aware of what you're eating and how you're eating, and making sure that you're hitting roughly what those numbers are.
Yeah.
So it definitely helps on that sense. I
And
agree.
that's where we spin off the if it fits your macro into the best possible if it fits your macro diet, because we're focusing on the good foods versus the typical if it fits your macro diet allows you to have ice cream as long as you don't go over your carbs for the day, or it allows you to have cakes. I guess carbs is the biggest culprit.
Yeah.
I'm sure you'll have people who love their cheeses and will only eat cheese for their fats, but again, then you're getting into an imbalance of specific fats. You're not getting micronutrients, and
That's
I
true.
think that's way more important than the macronutrients.
Yeah, I mean, it does allow for great adherence to a diet program as well, because you have the ability to go, okay, well, I need X amount of protein, and if I go out to dinner tonight and I get a steak, well, there's my protein and there's my fat. Or, I mean, I hate to use Weight Watchers as an example, you can save your fat calories, fat grams for, later on you want to have a steak when you go out, or you want to have something else.
Mhm.
So you can mix and match your proteins. It allows you to go out more places. So even if you're more advanced in dieting, it really is a good framework. It's just the way that it's applied by so many people.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
And
Great
that is
framework.
the downside, absolutely. Like, I really like the idea, like, to kind of give you a place to start and where to go and things like that. But the only downside is that you kind of take it out of the good concept and just being like, oh, I can have, Chick-fil-A and, Whataburger and all these other fast food stuff. But as long as I'm getting the salad with the fried chicken, I'm still gonna, meet my
Yes.
numbers, and that's
Yeah.
not what the purpose of this was supposed to be, or really is that this is not what the purpose should be. It should not be an excuse to be able to eat crap.
yeah. And that's the way it's portrayed a lot, because, like we were talking about before we started recording, a lot of the social media presence of If It Fits Your Macros is donuts and cakes and candies and things like that. So it looks like you're getting away with like breaking the rules without breaking the rules, when in reality it's okay if you're having a sweet potato, a baked potato, or rice, or if you're having chicken or fish or steak or whatever, you just mix and match. So yeah, it is a good structure, but
Okay.
All right, Tony. So, who do you think the if it fits your macro diet is best for?
I think it's best for beginners and busy people. Main reason is, like you said, with beginners, it's easy for that foundation. But busy people, if you tend to be going out to lunch a lot, if you're entertaining guests often, going to restaurants, you can make substitutions based on what the overall profile of your day should look like. So if you need 100 grams of protein, 100 grams of carbs, and 100 grams of fat, just to give it easy numbers, you can walk into a restaurant and get a potato, a steak, and something else, and know you'll be within your macro range, and then figure out what the rest of your day looks like from there.
So essentially, you'll need a or not. You don't need to, but you just take your overall total, and every time you eat, you just subtract the proteins, fats, and
Yeah, so think about it like a bank account. If you have your checking account, you have your savings account. Let's say you have a spare savings account, just to make up the three. You pay one set of bills out of your protein account,
Yeah.
one set out of your carb account, and one set out of your fat account.
Gotcha.
So this way you can do it through an app. Stephanie had mentioned like MyFitnessPal or Lose It or any of those other apps.
That makes
And
sense.
this way it keeps a kind of calculation for you, or depending on how long you've been doing it, you can keep a running calculation and go, okay, well this looks like 2 servings of protein, which should be about 50 grams of protein. So this is where I am now.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I mean, that makes perfect sense. And that's why this gets so it can get so out of hand, because you can very easily just eat nonsense and still fit in your, caloric goal, your fat, carb, and protein goal as well.
Yeah.
It's just, that's the downside here, is that it's very easy to not eat healthfully, but still not necessarily gain weight because you're staying within your goals.
The I guess from a beginner's side, why I like it is usually beginners just aren't getting enough food,
Yeah.
or if they are, they're getting too much of one, which is usually going to be carbs and maybe sometimes fat, but definitely not enough protein. It's usually the case with a lot of people.
Yeah.
So the goal for them the first month, 2 months, or however long it takes them to get the food that they need in it's kind of like the way the day should look like at the end.
Yeah.
I don't necessarily care what you're eating what your eating breakdown is for breakfast or lunch or dinner. I just want it at the end of the day, the summary of the day should be 150 grams of protein, 100 grams of carbs, and 55 grams of fat, or whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Mm-hmm.
And I think and also beginners tend to like that diet because it's so popular,
Yeah.
and it allows them to kind of, like you said, be flexible.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the best things for beginners to start off with. But eventually you plateau.
If you're eating the wrong things, you're gonna plateau.
Yeah, that's true.
So what made me think about doing this for this week was we talked about last week. The Olympia was happening last weekend, and of course there was winners because that's what happens. One of the girls who won follows the If It Fits Your Macros thing.
Okay.
So of course the way that she's doing it is she's eating clean foods all day. So she's having chicken, potatoes, rice, things like that. And where you would plateau with something like this is if you're having high glycemic load foods. So if you're supposed to have, 100 grams of carbs and you're getting it from candy, you're getting it from donuts, you're getting it from those things, you'll plateau because there's going to be so much insulin present that your body can't process and burn fat. But if you're getting it from good low glycemic carbohydrates,
Absolutely.
you're not going to plateau as much. And this was something when I first started competing, I had noticed that there were no rules to how to make a diet or anything like that. You just know that you need X protein, X carbs, X fat. So that's kind of where I had my first exposure with it. And I would just plug things in there.
I had
and
no
make,
clue that there was no diet plan.
No, there's no, and that's the thing that's laughable about people who are competition coaches. Any nutritionist can design you a diet plan. It
Yeah.
just has to be based around your goals, your body fat, your metabolism, and the more you know about your body and how it reacts to certain foods, the less that you can have of one thing, the more you can have of another. But it all comes down to the exact same thing. You have X grams of protein that you're trying to get in, X grams of carbs, and you're trying to keep your fat low when you're competing, which nowadays we can see that that's changing anyhow, so your fat would even be higher.
That diet tends to work really good with those people because they understand that, okay, if I want abs,
Mhm.
I do have to eat somewhat clean the majority of the time.
Yep.
Yeah.
But and also the second thing is they work out so much.
Yeah.
I mean, these people are the ones that are in the gym over an hour,
Yeah.
5 to 7 days a week. So I mean, they're getting a lot of workout, getting it. So their activities, a lot of calorie burn and everything. And then the insulin that if they do, right, they'll get it when they get it. They
It's
kind of
timed out appropriately.
Yes, exactly.
Mhm.
Beginners that are in the weight loss side, we touch on this in our class. It's from bad diet of so much insulin
Mhm.
kind of whack, or sugar buildup and insulin sensitivity just kind of out of whack. Your body starts putting on muscle right away whenever you're starting this new diet program. And you get very discouraged because you're like, I'm supposed to be losing weight, and here I am gaining 2-3 pounds. And although it's muscle, we don't necessarily connect with that. And we're like, I want to lose weight, not build muscle this early. And that just happens because of the high sugar that's kind of been there in the diet.
Mhm. Your body takes advantage of what you have.
Yeah, it's just there. So it's like, I need it, let's use
Right,
it.
yeah.
And you're working out, so it's going to use it to build muscle.
I need it. I want it. I'm going to use it.
Wow.
And it's like, I don't know if you guys saw the video I posted earlier today with the oatmeal next to each other.
Yes, I did notice
see it
that.
yet.
Okay.
I saw that
So this is another part of where If It Fits Your Macros can be beneficial, because if somebody writes you a diet program and they say steel cut oats, because that's what it was steel cut oats, and then H-E-B rearranged their cabinet. So you see as I start to pan to the third one, as I'm panning, I realize it's not the quick oats anymore. I was like, because it's normally steel cut oats, then rolled oats, then quick oats. So I was like, yeah.
Not what that was.
Because it was like rolled oats again. I was like, what? Why would you do this? But you can just see modifying the volume and how something's processed. Like, so the steel cut oats is a 1/4 cup serving for 27 grams of carbs. The rolled oats was a 1/2 cup serving for 27 grams of carbs. The quick oats is a full cup serving for 27 grams of carbs. So depending on your appetite, how full you are in your meal plan,
that's
you may
cool.
have to go with the quick oats. It's going to be a bigger volume, but it'll keep you more full.
Yeah.
Versus if you can't get it down and you're having a hard time stuffing food in, that 1/4 cup makes a
Much
huge
better.
difference. Huge difference.
Absolutely. And that's a really good point, is that when it comes down to if it fits your macros, is to have that understanding and knowledge that you still need to do research, that you still need to look at what it is that you're eating. You still need to be aware of, how these kinds of things are going to affect you. And so like you said, If you're not very hungry, if you can manage to eat only a quarter of a cup versus you might need a whole cup for someone who might be competing and needs higher volume because they're hungry. Like they're not going to feel full after a quarter cup of steel cut oats. And so that's the biggest thing too is, period. Even if you are a beginner, is having that understanding of, well, I'm eating less food and now I'm still hungry. Well, you have options and it can still fit into, what it is that you're doing, which is awesome.
I think the area where it gets made bad is, like I said, the social media presence of this is what I'm eating. Because when you look at the numbers, like if you write down, use the hundreds as the example, when you compare the steel cut oats, the quick oats, whatever, to a Snickers bar, from a carb standpoint, they're the same. It's going to be 25 grams of carbs for a Snickers bar, 27 for a quarter cup of steel cut oats. Then you have a little bit of protein in there. So instead of having an egg white later on, you're just having the 3 or 4 grams of protein from your Snickers bar, which will translate to the same amount of protein that you would get from an egg white. And then the fat, okay, so instead of having a handful of almonds later, I'm gonna have the Snickers bar because it's all there. From a number standpoint, it's pretty damn close. But that's where I think people get derailed because they're like, oh well, here's my 210 calories for this bar and it fits all these things.
Dude, I think, and to piggyback on that is they'll be like, I'll have the Snickers bar instead, but from a chemical perspective, it's so bad for you, right? It's man-made chemicals that we can't even pronounce, and then the vitamins that it does come in, the vitamin C that's in there, there's no vitamin C in that. The heating process destroys that, right? The vitamins other vitamins are probably synthetic based or lead based or just not plant based because it's expensive and Snickers ain't about that life. So, they're trying to profit. So what tends to happen is now all of a sudden you're getting your macros, but you're deficient in your micros, and the micronutrients is what makes the thousands and thousands of processes inside the body tick and work.
So you end up malnourished despite the fact that you're eating the same.
Exactly.
Kind of
the way we describe it when somebody's like, I'm drinking water all day, but it's water that probably doesn't have all the nutrients and electrolytes and the minerals that we're really looking for. So technically, you're dehydrated still, but you're hydrated. So that water is the inflammation that's outside of the cell that's swelling because there's no nutrients to actually get inside the cell.
Exactly, and that's the thing that a lot of people need to understand is it's not just about, it's very easy to think about nutrition in terms of carbs, fats, and proteins, and that's it. But you don't have to understand that is the big picture. They are the macronutrients. Yeah. You have the micronutrients as well. You need calcium, you need magnesium, you need phosphorus, and all of those little things. You need so much more for body function. And there's so much negativity around salt, but literally in order for your neurons in your brain to fire, you need salt. You need salt and you need potassium for that to get where it needs to go, for it to go. Yeah. And so there is nothing wrong with the micronutrients. It's maybe you don't need 1 million grams of salt from all the processed food, but if you're not eating processed food and you're salting your own food, there's absolutely no way that you're going to get that much salt. And then if you have too much, you can also utilize more potassium. Potassium does help the body flush out salt and things like that as well. Very good. So there is so much that everything works together for a reason.
Oh, you just answered a question for my client. I'll let you finish and I'll just bring it up.
Cool. But yeah, it all comes together. It all comes together in the end, and you need everything. That's why when you do talk to one of us, that we do want to try to stress eating more healthful, eating specific things, because in the end, that's what's going to help your body to function the right way, not just give you energy. That's not the point of that. It's you need your body to work the way it's supposed to.
An interesting thing about the salt, we when I was in college, we did a class with the history since the 1500s. They talked about cod farming and how it led to like multiple wars and things like that to get the fish trade, because if you had control of the oceans, you had control of the food. But I actually heard an interesting
and money,
yeah. But an interesting theory around salt and how we went to war over salts, because the Roman army actually paid their soldiers in salt, which is where the term salary came from.
Huh.
So yeah.
Wow. That's crazy.
But until I heard the theory that basically people were waging war over salt plains and things like that, because they understood the value of sodium and how it affected the body, like natural salt, obviously not table salt and things like that. Yeah. but that's where that whole need for salt came from.
So like the Himalayan sea salt and the Mediterranean sea salt.
Yep.
All the salts that haven't been stripped of
Yeah.
their
Yeah.
nutrients.
Of their nutrients and minerals,
So
yeah.
we'd go to war to get that area so that we would have claim to that salt mine, to that resource.
Medicinal.
Exactly.
Wow, yeah, that's crazy.
That's
Yeah.
Makes
fascinating.
sense though. Makes sense.
So-
Spices and stuff were the huge,
Mhm.
huge.
This
That was what we
just
traded.
commerce.
Yeah, that was commerce.
Yeah.
And there had to be a reason. Like, it's not just for better taste in chicken.
And
Like,
then
I
sugar
really-
came in the mix
Nope.
during that commerce, and that's when it blew up. Because
Yeah.
at first it was just for royalty.
Mhm.
Sugar was just for royalty. It was just for the people who could afford it or get it, which was
It
rich
became
people.
everybody.
Yeah.
And then it's like, oh, everybody's addicted to this. Let's put it in everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's the evolution of food.
Yeah.
Like you said, it's about that profit margin.
Real quick to touch on the question that my client gave me, she's experiencing like swollen fingers and legs at the end of her day. So there's some water retention issues. And potassium would help her flush out the water. So that's awesome. I'm gonna let her know that. But some potassium-rich foods is winter squash, sweet potatoes, white beans, and some yogurt. I mean, the winter squash has 896 milligrams. Right?
That's awesome.
I know potassium has more than just one use. I mean, it's regulating hundreds, maybe thousands of things. I know the most important thing for potassium is blood clotting. So
Yes.
if you don't have enough potassium, you can bleed to death from just simply cutting yourself, and you shouldn't die from that.
But
But
I don't know, that'd be the last thing you
Yeah.
want to die from. I actually found the salt war thing, sorry.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Dude, start with that.
So this is the San Elizario Salt War. It's actually a war that was fought let's see, over ownership of salt mines and salt lakes in Guadalupe Mountains in West Texas. So right here.
Oh, wow.
Guadalupe
So it's
Mountains,
actually- yeah.
dude. That's I've gone there. I've gone to the Guadalupe Mountains.
So it was in 1877. No, the struggle began in 1866.
Okay.
And
Crazy.
it went to 1877. Yeah. So, I mean, that's just obviously one example because,
Yeah.
I mean, there's more, but that's us going
Yeah,
to
I'm
war
sure
over
there's
salt.
more that happened hundreds and hundreds of years before that, maybe thousands.
That was literally called the Salt War.
Yeah.
So,
It's crazy.
Yeah.
I've never heard of that before.
Yeah.
And I think that's
But
fascinating.
it makes sense.
It
It
does.
does make sense. Yeah.
so that was the most useless college class I ever took. But now, looking back on it,
There you
I know.
go. Not useless.
Not useless anymore. All right, cool.
Hopefully some professor out there is watching this going, yes.
I hope she's not, because to give her satisfaction,
Oh,
she was
that's
not
awesome.
the nicest person ever.
Aw, boo.
Yeah.
The professor?
The professor,
Oh.
she was horrible. Horrible. I asked, like, how is it possible that COD dictated wars? And she's like, you didn't read the book. To this day, I can't even tell you what the book was called.
Definitely not.
Yeah, it was bad.
I think college courses are meant to, like, you know it for that little bit.
Yeah.
At least, like, the classes that are, like, math and English and history, all that stuff, you just remember it for the time being, and then, all right, cool.
Yeah.
Oh,
I
yeah,
never
all the
need it
core
again.
classes.
Yeah, you don't need
Check the
that.
box. I did it.
The stuff you did in high school, it's like, all right, take $30,000 away from
Yes, I agree.
Take my money.
Um,
Take it.
I had a question for Stephanie. What would you tell somebody who was they were adamant on doing or not adamant, but they just know the only diet they know is if it fits your macros, so they're interested in it. But after doing a consultation, they obviously have the means to do a much better diet, right?
Mhm.
Kind of something that we always preach. How would you kind of tell them that it's not best for them?
I think one of the biggest things, the biggest importance for me is education. Like what helped me in the long run, because I started with that. I started with the if it fits your macros kind of thing.
I did too.
Yeah, I mean, because that was
did.
just the easiest way for me to just get started. And then I started to learn more and became more educated on how to make better choices, going more off of serving sizes and things like that versus like, okay, I have to, because I get obsessive. Like, I get really obsessive. And that's a big thing for like my clients is if they have an obsessive personality like I do,
Uh-huh.
this is not for them. Because I obsessed.
So personality type has
I think personality type has a big thing to do with this, because with me, when I did this, I was obsessive. I got really particular with the numbers. It was no longer I was eating for nourishment. I was eating because I have to meet these numbers, I have to do this, and I have to do this, and it became horrible. It was terrible, and I hated it. And then it was, kind of like I fall off the wagon because I'm like, this sucks. I'm like, and I don't want to feel like food has to be a chore. Food should never be a chore.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's more now the way I think about things is that if this person is looking to make a step in the right direction, but they are aware that there are better foods and not so better foods, I think this is great. I think this is an awesome way to just get you to start thinking about changing your diet, to be aware of the things that you're doing, to be more aware of, oh, holy cow, I am eating way too many carbs. Okay, maybe I should, change this up a bit. That's great for people who can do that. But if they're obsessive, if they're like, I have to do this, I don't think that it's the best option. Just because, it ends up just being more of a pain.
Yeah. I used to coach a lot of my nutrition clients off of the percentages of you got to hit this. And I never called it if it fits your macro because we preached a totally different thing. But I just my clients weren't seeing the results I'd like for them to see, or even some of them that they wanted to see. And when I made the switch to not talk about numbers and talk about behaviors and habits and the emotions tied with foods, or simply just simple rules as opposed to all these complex numbers and calculations you have to do, all my clients are seeing results. Every single one of them, they might have the few steps backward where they kind of relapse and have some sugar, but I think that's what everybody does. And still, those are coaching opportunities that I love because it's a hurdle that we kind of overcome. And then it's like, it doesn't happen again, or if it happens, it won't happen for 4 months as opposed to every month.
Exactly.
And it's still progress. And that's, again, you take the conversation of numbers out of the equation, especially with the people who will obsess over numbers, right? Or even just not obsessive. There's people who are just, if I do it, I want to go all in and do it right.
Yes.
So they won't go over and they won't, and it could be 10 o'clock at night and they're short 20 grams of protein and they like, all right, I'll eat an extra piece of chicken. When it's like, well, you're going to bed in 20 minutes or 10 minutes. Like, no wonder you can't sleep. No wonder you woke up at 3 a.m. to go to the restroom or whatever it is that's happening. So.
Yeah.
But I think you nailed a big part of it too, the emotional component when you think about eating and why people are eating. When you look at any diet structure, it doesn't matter if it's flexible dieting, if it's your macros, ketogenic diets, whatever, that emotional trigger to why people are eating what they're eating is huge. And you're not going to get that if you're sitting to any one structure. Yeah. Because if you look at it, like you said, you have that backslide of, I went out and I was going to have a bite of something and I just slid all the way down. Well, what happened? I had a super stressful day, and this is what I didn't do, and this is what I should have done. And they notice those things, but if you're looking at just the macros, just those number breakdowns, the emotional component's not there. Math is a very emotionless subject.
Yeah.
Going back to our college
That's
classes,
true. You're right.
The only time you're emotional in math is if you fail a test.
Yes.
That's it.
Or right before you go into the class,
Yeah.
but it's got nothing to do with the actual math.
Yeah, when you talk about history, you talk about, okay, well, this war was fought because somebody got upset over something else. There's an emotional connection to that, and you can understand that.
Man, I like that.
Science, there's no emotion there. It's like, okay, is this a hydrogen atom? Yes, it is.
It is what it is, or it is what it isn't.
And that's it.
Yeah.
But so the macros are great from a number standpoint, but numbers are emotionless. They're just numbers.
Yeah. This isn't just numbers. This is
life. This is living.
Yeah.
This should be, food should be enjoyable. When do you usually eat? You're usually going to eat in a social, situation. And it's like, if I go out to eat and I know, I think of food for me in terms of how is it going to affect my body. And so if I know I'm going to go out to eat, of course I'm going to try to make a better option, but to make better choices. But if I go out and I'm like, you know what, I'm going to have enchiladas today, and I know what that's going to do to my body, I know how that's going to set me back, I'm not going to beat myself up. I'm not going to put that in MyFitnessPal because I'm not going to look at the numbers because I'm going to get upset. It's going to make me upset. I don't like that feeling. I don't like that feeling. Yeah, we're good.
Yeah, it beeped that in a way.
I don't know why our stuff
I just
beeps.
always look straight at it. I'm like staring at it.
It beeped at me.
Honestly, I've been trying to figure this. I could just easily pick it up and hold it.
Yes.
But I'm like the things that are pointing in.
There's
It looks like a taser. I'm
I
like,
know. Just so that you guys understand what we're talking about, I have a recorder right here, and yeah,
Yep.
it's right here, and so it's very
It just
like
looks
daunting.
like a taser and
It's very daunting.
stare down. Sorry, guys.
But that's okay.
But yeah, I think.
But yeah, that's how I feel about food. Is
it's
that
life.
it's life, and that's okay.
There's
and
so
it's
many
it's
other things happening.
it should be enjoyable, and that's what's gotten me out of because. I don't usually talk about this, but I feel like this is very important, is that I was a active anorexic for almost a year. I got down to 80 pounds. Yeah, I'm 5'6". I got down to 80 pounds, and I thought I was doing the right things because I didn't know any better. I was maybe eating 900 calories a day obsessively.
Yeah.
I would not do more, and I would not do less because I thought, okay, calorie deficit. 900 calories.
Correct,
And
yeah.
I was running, not walking, not jogging, running 6 miles a day. How I did not crash before that, I have no idea.
Well, and that's okay. Go.
No, you're fine.
Yeah, you're right.
But it's like, that was because I didn't know any better. I didn't know any better. And so I was trying to fit things into like my little macronutrients, make sure that I'm getting carbs, fats, proteins, but not going outside of that. And so that's where the obsession came in. And I, kind of ran myself into the ground. And for me, the best thing for me as far as a diet is concerned is not focusing on the numbers. Because for me, if I focus on the numbers, I revert back into a really bad place that I don't want to be in again. And so it's just, for me, just thinking about food in that terms is like, I know how this is going to affect my body. I know I can make a better choice, but cry about it. Oh well, I'm gonna have that, and I just know I'm not gonna do that again for a while, and that's okay.
Or you'll do the extra things the next day to make up for it.
Exactly. I'll eat, a bigger salad, or I'll eat, something more healthful.
Walk a little more, or run, or exercise a little bit more. Yeah,
Exactly.
absolutely. One thing that kind of reminded me is the if it fits your macro diet, or it just kind of everything's looked at as a daily thing. You got to get this many calories every day. But yet, when we were only eating 900 and running 6 miles a day, we didn't die. We didn't we weren't running our body wasn't running as effectively as it could have, but your body adapted. And your body was like, cool, this is the processes that are important. Like you say, we only need really 3 things, which are...
well, it's more than 3. It's your heart, your lungs, your liver, your kidneys, your intestines,
No,
your
but
brainstem.
I thought you said you only need to technically do 3 things.
Oh, you gotta breathe.
That's what I meant.
You
Sorry.
gotta,
I didn't mean
breathing.
body parts. Yeah, I mean,
Shit.
you only need 3 things, guys.
You only need 3 things. I'm like, well,
And your eyes aren't in.
it's breathing, excreting, and
Breathing, excreting, and
survival. So basically, just your
Fight or
pain
flight.
receptors, pain,
Oh,
fight or
okay,
flight. Yeah.
gotcha.
Yeah.
Crazy,
So-
yeah. But it's not done on a daily basis, because if that was the case, I mean, you definitely would have had issues a lot sooner than ever, and it didn't happen. So it shows what the numbers can do over the course. All right, it's not so much what did you do today or even this week. It's what have you been doing over the last month or 2 months or
Exactly.
even 3 months, depending on. I mean, I think 1 month will affect these specific things, and I think if you look at the diet over 3 months, it's going to affect a bigger longevity or health span.
Exactly.
And so if it fits your macro diet, it's like somebody might overeat 2,000 calories, and then the next day they're like, I still got to hit my 2,000 calories that I'm supposed to eat. It's like, man, you just had 2,000 calories over the day before. Like, I don't necessarily think you need that.
Yeah.
Like if there's other techniques and other ways of doing.
Well, that's the thing. Everyone thinks of it, like you said, that day to day, there's a continuum. So if you look at the whole week of what you've eaten, not that you want to see Monday was 4,500 calories and then Friday was 500 calories to make that average.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
You should see some sort of fluctuation. It doesn't have to be dead on. Because
Exactly.
if you're overeating, then not necessarily undereating, but you don't necessarily need all the extra because your body would have stored some of that as fat. So let's get in there and break that down.
Absolutely. I think, and then back to the Ray Cronice podcast, and when he was talking about how he would fast, but he was also checking his amino acid levels, his blood panels, his vitamin D, everything, and nothing was changing. And he went on a 20-something day fast, 21 or 24.
28.
28. Wow, 28-day fast for water fast.
Yeah, 21
and
days.
he wasn't even taking supplements.
Yep.
Like it was that she asked him the question, were you taking supplements or amino acids? Nothing. All he would do is really go into the cafeteria and smell the food whenever he got hungry, and then that would suffice, and then he'd leave, and he was full. But his vitamin D levels, C-reactive protein, all that stuff did not go up. Everything stayed, and it just kind of shows that. But again, the diet before that is very clean. It's fruits and vegetables. It's the stuff we really preach all the time. So he can, whenever it's time to fast, when we're in that starvation period, our body can adapt, right? But it's whenever we have the bad diet and then try to fast or try to not eat over specific calories or whatever it is, the body starts shutting down.
Yeah, and then I think we talked about it, I can't remember the when, the guy who didn't eat for 368 days.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
That was so crazy.
I
That
mean,
was
I
nuts.
can't. I mean, and I've told you, I've pushed my fast like 4 or 5 days, like at most, and then I just get bored.
Yeah.
And I eat something because I'm like, oh, well, people are going somewhere. I might as well go with you. Why not?
Yeah.
I couldn't imagine like for 28 days or a full year just going, I'm
Yeah.
good. But I mean, obviously, then you think about stored energy because he had. I think he was
Oh,
400 pounds.
that's right. Oh,
Yeah.
they talked about yes.
Yeah, I do remember you bringing that up, yeah.
Yeah.
The energy was there.
Yeah.
I mean, somebody who weighs
I mean, if
180
you're-
pounds isn't going to
No,
be
you're not
able
going
to
to.
do
You
that.
won't.
No.
physically be able to last that long. It's not going to happen.
Maybe a week, maybe 2 weeks. Well, Ray Cronius, he's like my size, 160, 170,
Yeah.
if that. And he did the 28-day fast.
Well, if you think about it, you have every fat cell is going to have the energy to get you through almost a day's worth of energy expenditure.
Oh, yeah.
More
Oh,
or
yeah.
less. So, assuming you're not doing anything
4,000,
crazy,
yeah, you're right.
you're fine. But if you decide to do a marathon, you're kind of screwed.
Yeah.
All right. So, final thoughts, guys. How do we feel about this?
I would I think there's better approaches, and if someone comes to me with if it fits your macro mindset and they want to do that, I'm going to probably agree with them for a little bit, but eventually they're going to see, and I'm going to show them the benefits of other stuff, or just the stuff that we naturally do. When you see how it works and what it does for you, I think it's just there's better ways of doing it. So I wouldn't recommend doing if it fits your macro diets.
Yeah, I would say if you're going to do it, be smart about it. Make healthy choices, naturally occurring foods. So yeah, if you want to slip up every now and then, that's perfectly fine. But don't go crazy and just assume that a slice of cheesecake is going to be appropriate every single day, because then you will hit a wall and you will break down.
Yeah. No, I agree completely. I think you guys made some awesome points that, I mean, there's a benefit to it in terms of, getting into the mindset, healthful eating, absolutely. But as long as you're trying to do it in the way of to move towards healthful eating.
Yeah.
Like this is absolutely not an excuse to just eat nonsense. Like that is not what this is. So
Lots of bulk.
yeah, gosh.
That's really
That should be our
what we
next
see.
topic.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like that should be, because that makes me incredibly angry. Like I had a friend who I got upset with. Very, very upset with.
Well,
He was
I
like-
think next week's topics.
Bulking?
Yeah, next week's topic's going to be bulking.
I love it. I love that it just like falls in there.
That was perfect.
But yeah, I think that's fantastic. So thank you guys very much for tuning in today.
Thank you.
I'd like you guys, since this is going to be kind of how we do things now, where you'll see us, since we're not going to actually do a podcast, we kind of did go ahead and change that thought. So we'd like it if you guys would subscribe.
Yes. Subscribe. Like button.
Like button.
Share button.
Share it if you know
Actually,
someone
that
that
share
this
button
would.
is actually more important than the like button. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Yes, the share button is a little bit more
That's
important.
true. That's true.
But yeah, so.
Tony gets share happy.
I do share everything. I do.
So do I, gosh.
Share.
I'm like, that's a cute video. Sure.
I love it. Though. I love it. It's great information.
And
Until
if we-
next
Yeah.
time, guys.
Peace
Yeah,
out.
well, you were leading with it, so we just.
I thought y'all were gonna say something.
Oh, I
No.
we're supposed to jump in.
Cool.
Nah, that's fine.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
See you guys later. Thanks for checking us out. If you like this, go ahead, like it, share it, subscribe. Check us out on Facebook and Instagram.